Builds that will be as good in Lightfall as they are today are in high demand, but the Solar Hunter setup that I'm showing you today is not one of those builds, because it is getting so much better when Lightfall arrives. Infinite grenades, infinite melees, infinite blade barrages, and in Lightfall, infinite healing. And if that wasn't enough to convince you, it also has some of the best ability-based boss damage in the entire game. Just look at this clip of the Snazzy Rock soloing a raid boss with mostly Solar Hunter ability spam. It's literally insane. Almost as insane as the fact that 2/3 of you are not subscribed. If not for me, click that button for this beautiful Solar Hunter. As far as the build goes, we will begin with the core abilities and how they all function, as well as the aspects and fragments along with all of their features. We'll also discuss some of the new fragments coming in Lightfall that you'll be taking in place of some of today's fragments, and what they do to take this build up to 11. After that, we will talk about the mod setup in 3 different categories. Mods that will be staying in Lightfall, mods that you'll use today, and new mods that you'll use when Lightfall drops. So let's get started. This build has 2 main components, the first of which is the Trip Mine Grenade, which you can stick to any surface or the receding hairline of your least favorite enemy. The other is of course our exotic gloves, the Young Ahamkara's Spine, which on paper grants us increased Trip Mine Grenade duration and blast radius, and restores Trip Mine Grenade energy when inflicting ability damage. These gloves also have some bonus tricks up their sleeves that aren't mentioned in the exotic description. For starters, they intrinsically grant the Fastball perk, which increases the travel speed and distance of your grenades. And although it's not relevant to this build, it works on non-Trip Mine grenades too. Just a little funny. These gloves also prevent Trip Mine grenades from dealing self-damage, the helpfulness of which I cannot stress enough. As for the specifics of the advertised facts, the duration of these grenades are increased from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, and each instance of ability damage restores 1/3 of your Trip Mine Grenade cooldown. Additionally, if you damage an enemy with the Trip Mine Grenade and the explosion of the grenade does not kill that enemy, you actually get 2 instances of grenade refund, aka 66% grenade energy, with just 1 grenade, which is perfect for bosses and tankier enemies. Make sure to subscribe if you love Secret Destiny information. We of course also have 2 additional sources of easy ability damage in our melee and super to also fund those Trip Mine Grenade throwing sprees, but we actually also have a less commonly known 3rd source of ability damage that we will talk about in a second. Before we get there though, let's touch on the first 2. Source 1 is our melee ability, Knife Trick, which is a fanned out 3-knife toss, with each knife hitting enemies for 20 stacks of Scorch, applying up to 60 stacks if an enemy is hit with all 3. The cool thing about Knife Trick is that hitting multiple different enemies results in multiple procs of the Young Ahamkara's Spine's grenade refresh, meaning if you practice with this build and can channel your Overwatch Genji skills, you can refund your grenade from 0 to 100 with just a single melee activation. Source 2 is our super, Blade Barrage, which fires a rain of knives to instantly clear a room of ads or deal massive damage to a boss. Similar to Knife Trick, Blade Barrage can also proc Young Ahamkara's Spine's grenade refresh multiple times. Now, Source 3 is not technically an ability, but it does count as ability damage for the purposes of activating the grenade refund of Young Ahamkara's Spine. Ignitions, which occur when an enemy reaches 100 stacks of Scorch, result in an explosion of fire from the scorched enemy, meaning that if we throw our Trip Mine Grenade at a tanky enemy to apply 40 stacks of Scorch and refund 2/3 of our grenade, and then land all 3 of our knives from Knife Trick to apply another 60 stacks and refund the other third of our grenade, not only do we have another grenade ready to throw to refund itself again for 2/3 energy, but the enemy will ignite and thus refund the final third of that next grenade to start the process all over again. Starting to see how this loop comes together? Well, it gets even better. Our first fragment, Ember of Torches, makes us radiant for 8 seconds when inflicting damage with a melee ability, aka our Knife Trick. This not only increases our weapon damage by 25%, but also adds some additional functionality to this build, which we will touch on when we get to our aspects. After that, we have Ember of Ashes, increasing all Scorch stack applications by 50%, bringing our Trip Mine Grenade from 40 to to 60 scorch stacks, and each knife in our knife trick from 20 to 30, or the overall total from 60 to 90. This of course makes ignitions occur much more frequently, leading to even more grenade energy regeneration. Next up is Ember of Searing, which grants varied melee ability energy when killing scorched enemies based on the tier of the defeated enemy. Moving on, we've got Ember of Solace, which increases the duration of our radiant buff from Ember of Torches by 50%, and last but not least, Ember of Singeing, which grants 300% additional base class ability regeneration for 3 seconds after scorching enemies. But of course, with Lightfall on the horizon, we have some fragments getting updated and some brand new ones coming all together, and they are what is going to make this build absolutely invincible. Before I tell you what sets of fragments you'll want to run in Lightfall, however, we first need to talk about what they do. The new and updated fragments we need to concern ourselves with are the Embers of Searing, Mercy, and Resolve. Searing is being updated to not only grant melee ability energy when defeating scorched enemies, but to also spawn a fire spite on those defeats as well. Ember of Mercy will allow you to obtain the restoration buff when picking up those fire spites, and Ember of Resolve will grant Cure, a 60 HP heal on grenade final blows. For Lightfall, I have 2 different fragment setups depending on what sounds best for you. They both begin with Ember of Torches, one of our most important fragments, which will be more evident when we talk about our aspects next. You'll also want Ashes for more scorch stacks and therefore more frequent ignition procs, and Searing for ability energy regeneration and Fire Spike creation, which if you don't remember, also grant bonus grenade energy on pickup. As for the differences, Fragment Set 1 is for those who want to have constant restoration uptime, made possible via Ember of Mercy to grant restoration on Fire Spike pickup, and Ember of Solace to extend the duration of your Radiant and Restoration buffs. Fragment Set 2, on the other hand, is for those who want to not only increase the number of abilities they can throw in their combo, but who also can survive strictly from healing on grenade final blows, which will of course have you running Ember of Resolve for Cure on grenade kills, and Ember of Singeing for better class ability cooldown to allow for higher melee ability uptime during boss damage ability rotations. Regardless of which fragment set you select, however, your aspects will remain the same, starting with Knock 'em Down, which not only grants significantly more Blade Barrage knives for higher damage and better ad clear, but also refunds your melee ability on melee ability final blows while radiant. And if the melee ability that you throw to make you radiant from Ember of Torches results in a final blow, that counts for Knock 'em Down and will refund your melee as well. Our other aspect is On Your Mark, a buff stacking up to 3 times, with each stack granting incremental bonuses to weapon handling and reload speed, with each precision kill granting 1 stack. Using your class ability will also instantly grant 3 stacks of On Your Mark. Stats are simple with this build, with the usual max resilience being priority number 1, high mobility second, and high intellect third. You might think discipline would make sense for this build, but with how much regeneration you get from young Ahamkara's spine, it's just not necessary. Now for mods, you'll want all of your armor pieces to be solar with exception to your void gloves. Of course, elemental affinities are going away soon, so you won't have to worry about that for long. The mods for this build that will be remaining in Lightfall are 2 stacks of bomber on your solar class item, which refund 18% grenade energy on class ability activation. You'll then want a copy of Bolstering Detonation for 25% class ability refund on grenade damage, and Focusing Strike for 20% class ability refund on melee damage, both on your void gloves. Finally, you've got Ashes to Assets on a solar helmet for increased super energy gains from grenade final blows. However, I'd only recommend 1 copy of this, as the extra energy you get from the second copy simply isn't worth it. For the current state of the game, elemental well-based builds are obviously the play. Elemental Ordnance for solar elemental well generation on grenade final blows, Well of Life for health regen on solar well pickup, Bountiful Wells to duplicate all elemental well generation instances, and any combination of extra elemental ordnances or melee well makers for extra wells on grenade final blows or extra ways to generate wells. As usual, I've got a Destiny item manager link in the description for you to copy all of this over to your Guardian if that's your kind of thing. And if clicking the like and subscribe buttons on videos you enjoy are also your kind of thing, I have a spot down below where you can do those as well. As for mod builds in Lightfall, my first priority behind conjuring up some top tier brand new strand builds is to find amazing full mod setups for all of the builds currently on my channel, this one included. So if you want to see those right when they release, subscribing is the only way to guarantee that you don't miss them. Now, typically this is the part where I tell you how to use this build, but to be 100% honest, there isn't much to it other than understanding the base ability rotation for tanky targets like bosses and champions. Sticking your grenade will refund 66%, melee throws will get you 33, spamming those together will cause ignitions for another 33, you got your dodge to refund that melee, and of course a blade barrage in your pocket for massive damage and even more grenade recharge. You're getting grenade refunds from just about everything in your kit, class ability refunds from the 2 mods on your gloves, and a whole lot of super energy flowing in from grenade final blows thanks to ashes to assets on your helmet. And when Lightfall hits, you'll have permanent restoration or healing from all grenade kills to top it all off. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.